Hey guys, Jared Trunks 21 here. So, third story I'm recording in a day. But I figured I'd upload this one the day I'm actually recording it. It'll go up around noon. So, this is kind of... You guys may have heard if you lived in the United States or even, around the world. You might have heard a little while back that North Carolina was hit with a hurricane called Matthew. Well, at the time that happened, Mom and Dad were both out of town. They were out of state, actually. They were in Virginia. And you're probably hearing Roger and my fan going. I have to have the fan running because it's really hot in my room. And Roger's just being Roger. Anyways, so they were out of state. They were in Virginia, I think. It was West Virginia. One of the two. I was home alone when Hurricane Matthew hit. And where I'm at, I'm located in Cumberland County, so it's pretty rare for whenever a hurricane blows in or anything like that to actually hit where I live at. But the hurricane hits, power's out in the house. So immediately, I don't know what to do. Oven doesn't work, stove doesn't work, microwave doesn't work. I've got a refrigerator and freezer full of food that I could cook, but I don't know how. We have a grill and we have a burn barrel. Of course, I could have cooked on the grill, but I didn't know how to, per se. So, what it comes down to, I think it was like 4 days I was home alone. So, the first 2 days, all I did was sleep. That's pretty much it. If I had to eat, I was drinking Mountain Dew. I'd eaten stale potato chips and year-old candy. That was my food. Well, finally one day I decided, okay, I should be able to get out. It's been 2 days, the road's kind of dried out, but it's still really flooded. And so I hop in the Honda Fit and I start driving, and I get through the big mud puddle in front of the house. I get through the major flood section in front of my house. I get all the way down the road. And there's, there's a little hill where the neighbor guy had built, a little bridge, because the ditch that went through his front yard was it was so massive that you'd trip and fall if you didn't go over the bridge. So what ends up happening is, I'm driving and I get to where that is. That's maybe 20-25 feet from my house. That's just a short ways up the road. So I stop to kind of gauge how high the water is. And I shit you fucking not, the water is up to his porch, up this big ass hill. And I'm like, yeah, no, not happening. So I happily turn my little ass around and go back to the house. Well, the plan was that if anything happened during this hurricane, I'd call Mom and Dad and they'd find a solution. They'd find a way for me to get help. Of course, we have friends at church that are really smart people that planned ahead. They got backup generators. The one dude's like a freaking real estate mogul, got a shit ton of property. It's like, if you need anything, John, just call us. We'll have them come down and get you. I'm like, okay. So what do? I try to call Mom and Dad. No answer. It goes straight to voicemail. I'm like, oh shit. So I hop on Facebook. And I message Mom. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's just she's got call turned off. Maybe she's gonna turn on it. So finally, I get a call from a Virginia number, Virginia, West Virginia, and I'm like, I answer it. And it's them calling from the hotel room, and they're like, John, we're in this top secret location in the mountains of Virginia, and, yeah, the government has all communications blocked. There's no cell phone reception at all. So I'm like, what the fuck? So they're like, we'll call Bill and have him come down and bring you some food. So you guys can kind of guess what this is. I'm kind of a picky eater. I don't like a lot of things. Well, Bill finally comes. This is like end of the third day. I haven't had anything but stale. Like, these were probably year-old potato chips, year-old candy, and Mountain Dew. Ugh. I'm like, like, it's disgusting, but it's all I've got to eat. So Bill comes, and he's got Hardee's. And he's got a sandwich with everything on it. He's got some fries and a Coke. And I'm just like, thank you, Bill. Like, I got that, and then I said thank you, and I took off into the house. So I get inside, and I don't know the burger's got everything on it. I open up the wrapper, and it's got everything on it. It's a Hardee's sandwich. I'm like, okay, I'm really hungry. I'm not going to eat it with everything on it. I'm going to wipe off everything that I can. So I wipe off everything that's on it, but I still got some mustard and shit like that that's on there. I'm like, fuck it. I eat this whole burger in like one bite, pretty much. I eat all the fries. I drink the Coke. And I shit you not, this burger was maybe that big. It was small compared to what I usually get. I usually get, like, a Whopper-sized burger. Like, it's not that big. It's a pretty big thing. So, but I had not eaten anything but chips and fucking candy for 2 days. So, this burger filled me up, and it's like, oh my God. I would kill 100 people for another one of these burgers. So I ate the whole thing in like one bite. And Mom and Dad get back the fourth day, and Dad usually messes with me whenever I eat something that I normally wouldn't eat. He's like, so Bill told me that the look in your eyes was like a third world country's child just getting something to eat. I'm like, Dad, I was all out of stale chips. I was like down to my last bag of candy. I was 10 seconds from going outside and diving in the ponds in the front yard and fucking hunting for food to eat. Like, I mean, I was that hungry that I was gonna go out and go hunting for food. Like, I like I had like made a makeshift spear out of like a old wooden broom handle. I'm like, I'm gonna get some food. That's how hungry I was. Like, it seems stupid to me now that I think about it. That just because the power's out, I can't fend for myself. But to be fair, I'd never cooked on the grill at that point. After that point, like, I learned to cook on the grill. Like, I'll sit here and I'll pester Dad. I'll be like, hey, let's have steaks. No, I don't feel like it. Okay, I'll go do it. And I'll go light up the grill, and Dad's like, no, don't! It's my grill! I'm like, Dad, I want steaks. I like steak. I'm a red-blooded American. I like my meat. So, yeah, Hurricane Matthew was one of the first times as someone who's not used to being left home alone in that kind of situation. Now, thankfully, I lived out in the country where, we weren't as hard hit, so there wasn't like any looting. Like, someone breaks in, throws a rock through the window. We're here for all the food. It's in the refrigerator. It's useless. Just leave me the fuck alone. Now, this was before I was 21, so I didn't have any... my weapons were swords and knives. Now I'm 21, I've got a gun. So, if someone breaks in... buddy. Depending on what you want, depends on how far you get. You try to take my Mountain Dew, we might have a problem. Because you done broke into the wrong house. Once you break into a house here in North Carolina, you kind of kissed your ass goodbye. Because, we don't have a duty to flee. If we're in the house at the time and you forcibly break in, you call yourself a cab. We'll call you a cab. It'll have red and blue lights on the top of it. But, yeah, Hurricane Matthew, one of the most hilarious times I've had. I've never gotten used to that, and I hope I never have to. But for a long time after that, it was hilarious. The neighborhood was still flooded. And, like, my favorite thing that I remember was the school closed for, like, 2 or 3 days. My college closed for 2 or 3 days. How it works where I live, the county will close, and that means all public schools in the county close, except the colleges. Every other college in town stayed closed as long as the county school stayed closed. My college did not. They were closed for 3 days, and then the campus is like, okay, we're good. So, like, some teachers were sending out emails, so like, there's no class today, there's no way I'm coming in. Well, I think almost all of them except one of my teachers said that. One of my teachers is like, there is class today. I'm like, teach, I can't come in. There's no feasible way I can come into class. The road leading out of my yard, leading out of my house, is flooded to the point where if I try to drive through in my Honda Fit, it's just going to get swept away into the neighbor's yard. I'm going to be knocking on the door. Hey, buddy, can I park my car here, please? Just let me park it here. I mean, it was hilarious. I couldn't help but think to myself, I'm like, what the fuck? You have the town declared as a state of emergency, and you're saying we all gotta be back in class. It was hilarious. But I mean, that was the first time I've dealt with a hurricane. I grew up in Indiana for about 15 years of my life. So, you know, I'm used to tornadoes. I joke. I joke. I'm used to tornadoes and snow. And kind of a funny story of my first real bad blizzard that I remember. It's not long before I left, I was walking over to one of my friend's house, and it was in a standard Indiana winter, about 3 feet of snow. It was nothing bad. I had my coat on. I'm like, it's standard. So I'm walking over to my friend's house, and it's not far. It's just I walk over the railroad tracks, and that's it. So I just walk over the railroad tracks, walk down the road to go to his house. And I get to the house, I knock, and they're like, oh, he's not here. I'm like, okay. So I start walking back home, and just as I leave their front porch, boom! Fucking snow falling. Next thing you know, the guy's stepdad comes rolling up in his big old jacked up redneck pickup truck. He was like, hey, can I give you a ride home? I'm like, nah, I'm good. He's like, you sure? They're saying we're about to get like 2 feet of snow an hour. I'm like, well, it's not going to take me an hour to get home. Bull. So I get up to the railroad tracks, and by this point, the snow has switched from the stuff that you can walk on top of. You know, it's frozen. It's got like a nice layer of ice beneath it and on top of it, so you can actually walk on it without it going boom, post holing down to your like kneecap. No. I don't know how it's even fucking possible, but this shit literally got so bad that I was sinking down to almost to my kneecaps from the snow that had fallen. So I get up to the railroad tracks and I get across. And the railroad tracks where we live they weren't very well kept. So I step over and I step off the railroad ties, the big wooden beams, and I'm stepping in between them. So I'm hitting the ground, the actual dirt, and I'm sinking even further because the railroad tracks being in use the ice and snow weren't compacting. So what ends up happening is you've got snow, broken ice, snow, and you're sinking in and you just go boom. And I think I sunk in all the way to my knees and I'm just like, oh my fucking God. So I finally get all the way off the railroad tracks and I start walking home. And by the time I get out of the railroad tracks situation, and there were 3 types of tracks. There was the one that they just parked the trains on that they would never use. There's a middle one where they allowed trains to pass through and occasionally park. And then they had the really busy one that almost no train parked on. By the time I got off the third one, which was the most unkept one, like there was a big pile of sand and rocks and coal on this track that they just park trains on. So by the time I got off that one, it had taken me probably a good 30 minutes. So I'm off of it. By this point, their snow is falling so fast and in such a consistency that I can't even see my house. And my house is maybe 15 feet away from where I'm crossing at. I'm like, is that my house? Is that my house? That can't be my house. So I finally get back to my house, and I walk inside, and I am just covered in snow head to foot. And I'm like, well, I ain't doing that shit again. So what ends up so I think the moral of this story is, no matter where you live, you believe your weather is horrible, but you'll always meet someone that has had it worse, or whatever weather you think is bad now, that's going on now, someone has had that exact weather worse. Just recently, we just got done with a bad snowstorm here in North Carolina. Some areas in North Carolina saw like 9, 10 inches of snow. My area saw an inch. Whole town is freaking out. Police department said, "No, don't come in. Don't come in. Closed, 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 closed. Delay, delay, delay." I'm like, I walked home in a blizzard. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I walked home in a blizzard. What? What, an inch of snow? Shit, you know what we did with an inch of snow when I was growing up? We laughed at the people. We laughed at it. We literally looked at it and we're like, oh, how cute. The baby snow's coming out without its mama. So, that is one of the most hilarious things. I love mentioning the fact that I come from a state where we're used to the snow. So, I kind of wanted to tell you this. This is a story. This is part of the Story with Chunks series that we do. We are going to have another video go up there tomorrow. We're going to have another one go up Saturday before the live stream. I wanted to kind of do these. I figured you guys kind of would want to know a little bit more about me. Get to know the guy behind Chunks. So hope you guys enjoyed this story about my first time in a hurricane and my first time that I really remember in a blizzard. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.